carried with them, not only on the inside, but also as well when they leave the confines of an institution. And this is where the chaplain, as I said earlier, must be that bridge between him and the family to help, I won't say remove the shame. The person himself has to work on that.
Well then, would denial not frustrate that goal? I mean, if he denies his guilt or her guilt, won't it be impossible for that person to face up to the reality of life and readjust?
Yes, but again, this is where a chaplain's role is very important. The chaplain has to be the father, the mother, the brother, the sister, has to take on many roles to help that individual. True, that person will always say, well, it's not me, it's someone else. There's always, you're blaming someone else. You don't want to accept reality. The chaplain has to make that person aware where he is right now.
And what brought him to that stage?
And what brought him to that stage in life.
Rabbi Krauss, how about denial in the hospital?
Oh, yes. First of all, one goes through a grieving process. Rationally, you may go one way, but your emotional life has been wounded, and it takes time to go along with it, but you have to be given permission to grieve. Part of grieving is denial. You feel stunned. It's not real. I don't believe it, just like after death. And it could be the same way in the hospital. Denial is good up to a point and necessary, a way of kind of distancing yourself so that you can get yourself together. But that's one part of grieving. There's anger and guilt and shame, which can be other parts of it. I'm loading the family, or did I sin, or did I do something bad? There is bargaining, God, if you only do this, I will do that. There is depression. All of these are part of the grieving, and you got to give permission to cry, to grieve it out. You're with them, and then you say, okay, now, challenge. How are you going to, what are you going to do with your time?
Do you find denial on the part of the family also?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, they deny that the person is seriously ill or fatally ill, or whatever the case.
That is one of the cardinal sins in this whole complex, because there's the compassionate lie, the loving lie, which is, in a sense, a killer.
In other words, you're arguing for frankness, is that
frankness and openness, because if you're not frank and open, and if you are lying to the patient knows it, and he's lying back and playing the game, the only thing that he has is he's lonely. They put him in a corner and he can't do anything, and there's bad grieving that results, because then you can open yourself up, you can heal yourselves, you can forgive each other, life review, everything.
Dina, do you want honesty? Mm-hmm. Do you seek honesty with your doctors and nurses?
Always. And one of the things that is difficult is getting, especially the younger doctors, the interns and residents, to be totally honest. It's hard for them.
You mean they try to be evasive?
Sometimes, or they just can't bring themselves to be
You don't agree, Rabbi
direct
Krauss?
about that.
No, the honesty can be a killer, too, because it depends how you tell it. The doctor can destroy the morale of the patient completely.
In other words, if he says there's
honest.
no hope and that can crush a patient.
Right.
On the other hand, he can give the same facts but give them hope, then that really lifts the patient's morale.
Right. So how it's done is very important, and that's a place where
Did they handle you with that kind of compassion?
some doctors are better at it than others.
But your chaplain obviously handled you with
My
great
chaplain
compassion.
handled me very well, and the chaplain can also help in advising a doctor or letting a doctor know what's going on with the patient to perhaps help the patient, the doctor to better communicate to the patient.
I'm curious, how do you work with families? How do you work with children who come to visit a father in a prison, for example?
At first, I don't think they realize where they are. I think the parent does not really tell them that the father or the mother is incarcerated. They think they're going to visit them, that sometimes they use the excuse, unfortunately, that they're going to visit the sick person. He or she may be in the hospital, which creates problems later on, because the child, as he or she grows up, realizes something is missing. Today, children are very, very smart. They're extremely astute, and they know when you're telling them the truth or not. And I've seen children talking to the parent over the phone, and the father would say, well, I'm away for 6 months, I'm on a business trip. And I said to the individual, be honest.
So Essentially, we're saying honesty with the families, honesty with the patients, honesty with the inmates in a prison. That still is the best policy. Am I
It
right?
depends how the honesty is delivered.
And that's very important, because in a prison especially, the chaplain is to be the conveyor of that honesty, because all over the inmate may experience people who are trying to play games on him.
I understand. Well, this has been extremely enlightening. I wish we had some more time because there are so many other issues. I'm Rabbi Gilbert S. Rosenthal of Temple Bethel in Cedarhurst, New York, Vice President of the New York Board of Rabbis. I want to thank my guests, Rabbi Krauss, Dina Bosian, for your great courage in coming here today.
Thank you.
I don't have to tell you how much we appreciate it. Rabbi Honig, thank you for being with us. If you want any information or comments, please write Rabbi Gilbert S. Rosenthal, Point of View, WWOR-TV, 9 Broadcast Plaza, Secaucus, New Jersey, 07094.
From